Hey guys, it's your girl Alicia, aka geekxxchic, and I'm back with another review to The Flash. So I just had the reaction. I'm still cheesing. I'm still smiling. That was such a fun episode, you guys. Elseworlds Part 1 was hilarious. I had a good time. This was in true Flash spirit of being lighthearted and funny for the most part, considering that it's got the Green Arrow smack dab in the middle of it, and I liked it. I had fun. I had no expectations other than kind of enjoying at least the first half of it. That's kind of the formula for these crossovers. It's always kind of been that it starts out kind of fun and then we get into the serious stuff somewhere in the middle, and then we have the big tearful goodbyes near the end. And I don't think this is any exception this season. Wow. Like, and I think what was great about this episode is, you know, it's interesting. I've watched it's a podcast, but they did a recording of it, of Stephen Amell talking about these crossover episodes. And he was saying that one of the reasons why, like, he says people love them, and of course they want to do like so many of them, but he talks about how it's a very expensive thing for the show to do. Like, the reason that they don't do more than one crossover per season, because people are always like, do more, is because the cost of bringing everybody together at the same time, not to mention the scheduling with everybody, is very difficult to get all the actors and get their schedules right, and the filming around it, because even though The Flash and Arrow and now Supergirl all film in the same, like, they all film in Vancouver, in and around Vancouver, and if you watch Arrow and The Flash, you've seen that a lot of the areas, like the outdoor areas in particular, are reused sets and reused locations. So the point is, they're not the only shows filming there. There's like other television shows on other networks that film. Vancouver's a very popular place to film things. So trying to work all of it out to film this, and like I said, get the actor schedule, plus of course pay that many actors from different shows, and there's a bunch of contractual and legal stuff. So it's quite the feat to do it, and that's the reason why the network doesn't go through it too many times. But they have to kind of conserve where they can when it comes to cost, because it is a more expensive thing to do. And this episode really, even though we had quite a few effects in it with amaze-o and with having Supergirl and Superman, you could see where they reduced the cost of things, because like the effects were really kind of only in that regard. We saw very little speeding of Barry Allen, to be honest, and we didn't see Superman do much of anything. Honestly, I mean, I love me some Tyler Hoechlin, but he honestly could have, like, you could have cut all of his parts out of this episode, and like we wouldn't have known the difference. There wouldn't have been a massive impact, but I digress. The fact that they didn't have all the money to spend necessarily on making it an effects palooza, at least right now, like, I feel like they're gonna save that for when they finally do go up against the Monitor, if they go up against the Monitor, or John, the holder of the book. We'll come back to him. Then that's what they'll do it for. But this episode, they very much played off of the character interactions between Oliver and Barry, and I loved that. I loved it so much. One of the things that I've always liked since season 1 of Flash is that chemistry that he has with Oliver. Then the two actors, of course, Stephen Amell and Grant, they're really good friends, and outside of this, like, they talk and they hang out all the time, and I love that chemistry that they have off screen translates really well on screen as well. And you could just tell that they were having a ball with this. Like, I'm sure if we get the outtakes, which I really hope that if we don't get them, you know, online, that by the time they release season 5 of The Flash, I really hope we get the outtakes of this episode, because I have a feeling that they were dying through so much of it. Especially those group scenes. Like, I could tell on Candace's face that she was on the verge of losing it a few times, especially in her scenes with Steven. That was so well done. I thought it was so great. But you know what's very interesting to me, and I'm sorry, the West Allen shipper in me is gonna come out for a minute here. I'm gonna gush about them again later, don't worry. So for those of you who are not West Allen shippers, but I gotta say a little bit right now. The interaction between Candace and Steven, you know, Iris and Oliver, it's so interesting because I can tell, like, one of the things I love about Barry and Iris as a couple is the fact that Candace and Grant as people have such great chemistry together. They have such great on-screen chemistry. It's been there since the get-go. That's why Candace was hired in the first place. And it's something that's just become so second nature to us as viewers, we don't even like think about it anymore. But I felt it so much in her interactions with Steven, because even though she's supposed to be like pretending that this is Grant, you know what I mean? Or, you know, pretending this is Barry, I could feel that the chemistry was off, if that makes sense. And not just because, of course, Steven had to act like he was weirded out by the situation, as, you know, as he should, but it just didn't feel, do you know what I'm saying? Like, even the way she acted toward him didn't feel the same as the way she acts towards Grant. It was just really cool to see. Like, it just shows that chemistry that she and Grant have is such a unique thing, and it's really just works so well for them. And I mean, it still doesn't mean that the scenes between her and Steven weren't great, because they were. They play off each other really well. And like I said, I low-key ship it. Like, this is a different Earth or a different universe where Iris and Barry weren't together, or it wasn't this, you know, or somehow Iris, or I'm sorry, Candace had been cast as Felicity's character or something like that. I would love it. Like, her and Steven, they talk all the time about the little, you know, on-screen crushes they have on each other, and it's super cute. But yeah, they just had so much fun with that, and it was so fun to watch. And listen, I said it in the episode, and I'll say it again. Oliver Queen. Y'all, Oliver Queen has a low-key crush on Barry's wife. Let's be real. I mean, I'm sure he loves Felicity to the moon and back and all that stuff, but homie wasn't like, oh my God, we can't do this. Oh my gosh, like, what's wrong? He was like, what if Barry walks in? Where's Barry? Like, he was like, we can make out, but I just don't want to get caught. And he wasn't even going to tell Barry he woke up in bed with her. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, Oliver, I see you. I see you. He's not so sad about the idea of, you know, getting to play Mr. West Allen for a while. You know, it's not so bad. Life's pretty good when you got a queen. You know, queen to your right. Woo, child, that was adorable. But I really liked the villain, believe it or not, even though it was only for a few seconds. Amaze-o's, that's a great villain. I honestly, I'm like, really? This is the first time we get to have something this cool? But he's such a massive villain that I understand why they can't just throw that in as a villain of the week. But he also wouldn't be strong enough, per se, to make as a seasonal villain, but he was a lot of fun. It's been a while since we've had a really fun villain. What else did I like about this episode? I really liked, oh my gosh, okay. Let's talk about, before we get to the West Allen schmoopiness, let's talk about how meta this show got on itself. Okay. I think the best part of this episode for me was the absolute meta conversation, aka fight, that Oliver and Barry had when they were trying to train as each other. Now, one thing I have loved about the new writers of The Flash, and I feel like it's the Flash writers who wrote that fight, to be fair. They have been, since season 4, I commented so many times in my reactions in season 4 that there's some meta stuff that was said, like things like shade that they threw towards season 2 and 3, shade towards how Iris has been treated, shade towards some of the huge plot holes and fails that the show's had, or to, you know, letting us know that the writers are clearly reading what people are writing about the show. Like, these writers are so good at taking real stuff and like sticking it into the script and making it work, and I love that about them. Like, you know, I love a good cup of tea, girl. And wow, hearing Oliver tell Barry about himself and about this show, talking about, can you go 5 minutes without a pep talk in your ear? Are you actually able to do anything without your wife telling you what to do? Oh my God. I was not ready. Wow, the tea was scalding, y'all. And then Barry turning around and being like, Felicity's totally what did he call her? Felicity invented wingmen or something, like, oh, I love me a good roast. I love me some good tea. And that was brilliant. It was so well done. And again, I just love how they just threw it in there. Like, it made sense in that instance, right? Because any other way it would have felt out of place, and it worked, but it was, again, just letting the audience know that, like, hey, we know. For the record, we know what y'all say. We know our formula, and just so you know that we know what our formula is. You know what I mean? Like, it was just so well done. But I also like the reason that it happened. Because I was like, is this just a matter of, like, giving them some angst? Because it's not really necessary. Enough is going on in the episode already with the two of them not being believed that they're each other. But I really love how they talked about when, after all that shade was thrown, they sat together and really were like, okay, let's get to the heart of this, which is we both have to talk about how we access who we are. And Barry was trying to approach the Green Arrow as Barry, and Barry is a lighthearted, happy-go-lucky, positive, loving person by nature, which I know the show completely forgot for 2 seasons, but thank God they've come back to it. But that's Barry's nature. And then you got Oliver, who just comes from a completely different place. He's come from a lot of pain and darkness and anger, and that's what fuels him and makes him good at what he does. So I love that they had to really identify the core of what makes their characters special and what really makes them thrive as heroes. And Barry's like, I do better when I'm happy. Like, I'm able to be a better Flash when I focus on the things that I love. Whereas, like Oliver said, for me, I have to think about the things that I've been through because that fuels me to get through whatever I've been through. So I can't be gleeful and make this work. So both of them are like, okay, well, since we're in each other's bodies at the moment, so to speak, or in each other's selves in some sense, then we have to use the fuel that works for us. Otherwise, we're going to be working against what makes us work best. So I think that was really, really awesome and well done. And my favorite part of that is that it really delved into the characters of both of them. And I love that they did it in like 7, like even if you don't watch the Arrow or you don't watch the Flash, like it gave you a great summation of both those characters in like 5 minutes. Kudos to the writing there. They had some really, really great writing in this episode, in my opinion, for the conversations. I think the conversations were brilliantly done. Plot-wise, not a whole heck of a lot happened until close to the end when we saw Cisco. And I remember thinking when it first started with this guy, the Monitor, and the book and everything, that like first thing I thought was, shouldn't Cisco be able to see through this? But I guess because he's not actively vibing right now, that's why he didn't. And it didn't hit me that like, and I remember even when he went to Star Labs, I was like, why doesn't Cisco just touch them? Like, he'll be able to vibe if it's true or not. But anyway, but back to my favorite part of the episode. Yes, I thought that was really, really well done. And I like that they gave us that character development of the source of these powers. And I feel like DC's doing a real theme of that across their characters at the moment in their different shows. Because even in Titans, which I watched, DC's Titans, and I know people have been asking if I watch it and if I'm going to react to it. I started watching it because I wasn't sure, like people were so negative about it from the previews they'd seen that I was scared to like, what if I start watching it? I don't want to keep watching it. I don't want to start reacting to it and then have to drop it halfway through. But it turned out that it's really, really good. And I kind of regret that I didn't start reacting to it, but I'll definitely react to season 2. Back to the point. In Titans, they're having a very similar storyline too, where they're talking about the source of the powers of Batman and what makes Robin Robin, and you know, Dick Grayson's character is going through some things right now. So it's just, I love that DC's taking this theme of really talking about what fuels these different characters and what helps them to develop these superhero personas, that it's not just about the costume, there is a big story behind it. So that was really well done, and I think that was probably the major, I guess, arc of this episode, I think, is really that these two really had to talk a little bit more about what makes them who they are. And I feel like that's what they're going to take away from this experience when it's all said and done, when they go back to their real lives, of that the reminder, I guess, of why they became what they are. And maybe even shifting a little bit, like maybe Barry's going to take a little of the darkness that he needs to be Oliver, but not necessarily take the darkness, but maybe the seriousness and maybe some of the discipline that Oliver has. Like, he might take that away and apply it more to what Barry does, because even though Barry does things the way he's going to do them, one thing is still resoundingly clear, and that is that Barry has like 0 combat experience. Like, he's so bad at fighting. It's not even funny how bad he is at fighting. And if he doesn't have his speed, we've seen it time and time again, he gets his butt handed to him. So again, he doesn't necessarily have to worry too much about it because his speed will almost always give him the advantage, but it's not a bad thing for him to learn, just overall. And vice versa, Oliver, that darkness, that pain, that anger that sits with him all the time, we've seen that it completely destroys his personal life. It interferes with his connections with people, and it also makes it hard for him to distinguish where the line is when it comes to how far he should go and the kinds of things he should do. So maybe he'll take some of Barry's advice, and as far as letting happiness in or giving it a different focal point for why he does certain things, like maybe the things he cares about instead of all the negative things. It could definitely just, you know, ever so slightly shift his life in a way that's a little bit more positive as well. I thought it was great, that speech that Iris gave to Barry at the end, that, you know, of course, the adorable, like, come back to me and all that, but we'll talk about that more in a minute. But most importantly in there, like she said, like, I heard what you said before you destroyed the robot, and I just need you to know that you're not going to go down this dark path, because I love you, Barry Allen, for who you are and the kind of person you are. Like, I don't need, like, when she says Oliver Queen's not her type, she's not talking about his abs, okay? Because that's everyone's type. She's talking about the overall persona that Oliver has. That's not Iris. She's not about that dark, broody, angry light. That's Felicity's jam. That's not for her. So I love that. Love that overall theme that we had, and I think that they executed it well in the time that we were given. But outside of that, it's now West Allen gushing time. Love, love, love. Love seeing the callback to the pancakes with Iris making pancakes for her man for breakfast. It's so cute. And then she's like, look, I made them right. He didn't taste them though, so we're not sure about that. But I'm so proud of Iris. But it was super, super cute. The love, I love again her just being so doting over him about, you know, you need to rest, baby, and relax and all that kind of stuff. They were super cute, even though it wasn't really them. Love how the show showcased again that the connection between Barry and Iris is totally at the heart of everything Barry does. It is the foundation of the Flash, and that she can see it through no matter what's going on, no matter what this Monitor's got planned. There's one thing he can't do, and that is break the connection between Iris and Barry. She could feel it. She knew it, even though, I mean, it took Barry forever to figure out to say something to her that only Barry would know. But besides that, like she said, she felt it in her gut. Like she knew, she knows her Barry, no matter what he's wearing, no matter where he is, no matter what timeline they're in, those two are always together. So I love that they brought that out. It was so cute. And I love that Barry was like, the second he found out Oliver woke up in bed with her, he was like, oh, hell no. This has got to stop. Okay, I will play this role for as much as I can, but when it comes to Iris, don't even think about it, sir. Do not even breathe her name wrong, okay? Super, super cute. So yeah, there was a lot of cute West Allen, and I feel like we're gonna get some more. I'm hoping we get to see this much Iris and the rest of the team actually throughout this crossover as well, because I just like seeing everybody together. It was really cool to see like Cisco and Supergirl talking again and things like that. I don't know whether or not we're gonna see Superman again. I honestly feel like we don't need to. He felt like a interloper this episode. I don't know. Unless they can find something more valid for him to do or some meaningful way for him to interact with the team, unfortunately, I'm sorry, heck, I just don't see why you should be there. And then finally, the last thing we really touched on was Cisco vibing Monitor. And of course, we started the episode with what we ended the last episode of The Flash with, and then of course the added scene of Monitor giving the book, which you guys told me what the book was, and I'm sorry, I forgot already. Sorry. But he gave this book to some dude named John. Could he pick a more generic guy? But he picks a guy who is giving a lecture about eugenics and how everyone's got to become a super, and how, you know, the only way to fix it is by like anytime I hear eugenics, I get twitchy, guys, because the history behind eugenics is, just Google it, do your own research and come to your own conclusions. But for me, it makes my skin crawl. I don't like it. It's never been associated for anything good, especially for people of color. So anyway, I didn't like it, and like everyone getting up and leaving was about the right response. So giving this book of destiny, I think that's what it might be called, to a man who clearly has a very skewed viewpoint in the world is crazy. But that makes me wonder if it feeds into what we saw at the beginning of the episode with all the superheroes laying on the ground. Like, is this because everyone is a super now and this is where things have gone? I'm very curious to see what this John guy has in mind, and is he going to become our big villain? And again, I really liked at the end there when Cisco's vibing Monitor, which again, I love that he had the unintentional vibe, because you know he's trying to lay off the vibes right now. But he has the unintentional vibe, and then Monitor looks at him much like DeVoe did when it was so creepy and he was doing that, and he's like, oh, okay, I didn't realize y'all have this kind of thing going on, but that's okay. You know, he goes into his evil man speech, but very interesting. I love the idea of Cisco having so much power. Like, that is so cool to me, that Cisco's got this power that's kind of outside of the realm of what other people think. Like, it might be higher than a lot of the other metas. But it also says something to the fact that Barry and Oliver were resistant to this change that the book implemented. So clearly there's something going on. I don't know why. They haven't explained yet why Barry and Oliver and Cisco are immune to whatever this book can do, but clearly it's going to be instrumental in figuring out how to turn off whatever this book is doing. So I haven't watched the preview yet for Arrow's episode, so I'm purely speculating at this point, but my guess is we're going to figure out as, you know, the episodes go on why they're resistant and how they're going to somehow stop it from happening or reverse it from happening. And again, I don't know if Monitor is going to be the person they need to defeat, or if it's the book has to be destroyed, or I'm sure those of you who read the comments will be able to let me know or give me a hint. I'm not sure if I want to, actually no, go ahead and tell me, because just because it's in the comics doesn't mean that's the way that the show is going to go about it, but I'm interested to know what they would need to do to turn off the effects of whatever's going on with this book. And if you have any theories as to why Monitor just gave it to this guy, Is that the way it happens in the comics? They just pick someone randomly on that planet and be like, here's this book with ultimate power for you to play with. Have fun, bye. Feels like he knew that this guy would not possibly fathom the depth of the responsibility of this book, and he gave it to him anyway. So just, yeah, please let me know what you think as to why he picked this guy, and again, how it all gets fixed where it's all said and done. And also, whatever happened to Jay Garrick? Like, Jay Garrick went running away, and then we didn't see him. I thought we would see him pop up in this episode, but that doesn't mean he won't show up later. Maybe he'll show up in the Arrow or in the finale, we'll see, or the final episode, I should say. Yeah, there's still a lot of questions that are left unanswered, and of course, as I mentioned halfway through the episode, and I'm like, where's Nora? Nora was completely MIA this episode. Like, is she still in 2049? Did she not come back yet? Like, especially since she hasn't told anybody she's been traveling back there. Yeah, interesting that she's completely omitted from this and no one talked about her. Like, I get it. I get it. You know, coin-wise, having everyone on set is expensive, but it seems like a strange omission. Like, I understand, like, say, Joe and Cecile not being there, but Nora's been kind of in and out of everything. Nora might be the one person who knows outside of maybe Superman who Monitor is. Yeah, interesting that there was no Nora this episode, and I'm wondering whether or not she's going to make an appearance at all throughout this. And if she doesn't, how they're going to explain why she's just suddenly gone. But just a little observation, not a big deal. Not to mention, I suppose, you know, actually I do want it to happen because I'd love to see Oliver's response to dealing with Nora. So yeah, that was the episode, guys. Like I said, I found it to be super, super fun. It was just really fun. I loved how both shows kind of took some digs at each other. I loved watching them have fun, especially Grant having fun getting to say the lines that Oliver's famous for, the moment with Supergirl and him mocking the way that Arrow speaks. Like, great job to the team. It really makes, I'm really looking forward to watching the rest of this crossover and seeing where it all goes. What did you guys think of the episode? How are you feeling about the crossover so far? Do you think that it was good? Do you feel like this episode was kind of meh to you? And do you think that Cisco might be the key to actually solving this one? I'd be really happy for Cisco to actually be the secret weapon in one of these crossovers, just once. Please leave your comments below and let me know what you're thinking. And if you like this episode, guys, please click like. And if you want to see more from this geeky face, please click subscribe. Until next time, see ya.